Do we have a name for this month? We are doing a theme for this month. Shouldn't we have a name for it as well?
I just called it Tim Burton month.
All right, we're gonna have to workshop this. I think we can do better. I don't know. I don't think of it. Yeah, it's got to be.
You guys could come. Listen, by all
getting
means.
weird with Tim Burton.
Yeah, we'll work on it. We'll get there. We'll get there.
But it is all about Tim Burton this month, and we have started with one of his classic films, one of his first big films, I think. Right, Edward Scissorhands. We have watched this movie. We are back to report our thoughts, followed by our reviews, and let's get into it, gentlemen. Let's start with some facts, some figures, and some observations about this movie. Who would like to start?
You know, this movie is definitely, it was filmed here in Florida. It has a very Florida vibe to it, for sure.
Oh,
it was filmed in parts of Lakeland.
The real neighborhood?
Yes, it's a real suburb in Lutz. Yeah.
Oh, no, I know Lutz.
And then the shopping center and stuff like that was in Lakeland, and like the diner was in Lakeland. And
that's why it's so depressing.
Yes, they did it all in this area. That's just a
I wonder if those houses still the same paint.
They said that they painted most of them back, but they said a few people wanted to keep the paint. So
I would.
Yeah, so that was part of the deal. Was they painted the community, but they had to paint it back to whatever they wanted to afterwards.
You guys want to get into any observations about the film?
I mean, it's classic Burton. I mean, just after us watching A Nightmare Before Christmas, it's still, it's all the same things over and over. A lot of the same things you see, especially in the inventors, the creator's castle. It seems like like he took it right out and put it into A Nightmare Before Christmas a few years later. It's signature style for sure.
Oh yeah, as soon as the credits roll and you're going through the scenery, right away it reeks of Tim Burton, man. It's him through and through. Did Danny Elfman do the? Yeah. That's a stupid question. You could tell right away.
Yeah, of course they were always partnered, but he wanted Robert Smith to do the music for it originally. And Robert Smith was his inspiration for Edward Scissorhands. The look, the hair, and all that. I mean, it looked
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. But wow, that would have been quite interesting to have Robert Smith do the music. I think it would have been a whole different thing.
He declined because he was doing Disintegration at that time. Yeah, so classic Cure album.
That could have been the soundtrack. It probably would have fit right.
Yeah, probably would work. Yeah.
But hey, Danny Elfman as usual, fucking genius doing his scores. I mean, Tim Burton found his composer in Danny Elfman. I mean, it's a perfect combination. And was this the first Johnny Depp Tim Burton collab?
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. He wasn't aware of Depp. He didn't watch 21 Jump Street. But he liked him. He auditioned for it. He actually already had Winona for the role because he had Winona from Beetlejuice. Yes. And he wanted her to do the role the whole time. And then Johnny was cast after.
Oh. Were we right on the date? I don't recall.
1990. We were right around. I think we said 89. I think we thought it was like the very.
It was the 90s, but it came out in the 90s.
1990. Yeah, 1990 exactly. I think you had said in the first half about Crybaby, Dana. Crybaby was the same year. They both were 1990.
Johnny Depp is an interesting actor in that he came up with that whole during that whole 21 Jump Street thing, and he was like a sex symbol. He was like a teenage idol, and he went out of his way, once he got into the film industry, into Hollywood, because back then, movies and TV were still two different worlds, and rarely did, actors jump from one to the other. And he made a very successful jump. I mean, he took advantage of his fame from the TV show 21 Jump Street, it seems to me. And once he got into Hollywood, he really went out of his way to choose like really pop idol-esque roles, for lack of a better term. He
very few in his entire filmography. I mean, even though
a uglier look to himself, right?
I think he liked to choose interesting directors and not play toward his looks. But most of his credits really are strange roles and interesting roles. And now he's just crazy in real life, so it fits him.
So Tim Burton, so this is 1990. So by this time, he was already a big time
Well, he did Batman the year before. So 89, yeah, Batman was in 89. So yeah, that was a huge hit. And he could make whatever film he wanted to, and he made Beetlejuice.
You know, he had a big start. I mean, he had already done Beetlejuice. He had already done
Pee-wee.
Pee-wee. So
Yeah.
he had the track record. So by this time, I'm sure by the time, you know, he threw the idea of doing Edward Scissorhands at whatever film studio he was a part of. And they must have been like, man, if you hadn't brought in all this money, we would never do this movie. Because this was really off the beaten path for any film studio to do this type of film. And especially casting Johnny Depp. The first thing any Hollywood exec would be like, oh, great. You know, we got this heartthrob. He has the face. He's the man of the hour. And then once you see this, how they made him up in this movie, where it's like they made him look beyond, you know, macabre, you know, and it's like, what do we have here? Like the execs must have been sweating in their freaking ties.
Yeah, but, and he barely speaks in the film. I think he said so he was listed as like 161 words in the entire film. Yeah, that's all he said.
But yet, I gotta say, I think he did a great job. I forgot what a good job he did in this movie. He really did. He was very expressive. His facials, his physical, you know, tics that he, you know, incorporated into this character. But man,
I guess we should go through the plot.
Yeah, I guess so. But where does the movie starts out with what's the actress's name who played the mom and the Avon lady?
No, it starts out with Winona, with an old lady reading a story, telling a bedtime story to her granddaughter, maybe.
Yeah,
Winona with some bad old lady makeup on. I mean, that's obviously Winona Ryder. Second you see it, like that's Winona.
Fucking terrible. Yeah,
she was telling the granddaughter about the snow.
Yeah. Why is it snowing in Florida? Yeah.
From there, it flashes back. The interesting thing about Tim Burton's films, and in particular this one, you know, he'll just meld periods of time together. You know, it's like at first you're like, okay, this is the 60s. And then you'll go into one person's house and the decor is 70s. And then you go into another person's house and it's 80s. So it's like he just melded all these decades together. So it already puts you in a kind of a surreal mind state. You don't really know what time period you're in.
Yeah, but, it seems like 70s cars, but in my mind, it's the 80s in my mind. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, some of the hairstyles the women had in the neighborhood were very 80s. It's like the big poof hairspray thing. But then you go into some of the houses and it's like straight up 60s. The colors, very 60s. She starts telling her this story and the scenery flashes back. And that's when we are introduced to her mother.
Correct.
Who is played by what's the name of the actor?
Diane Weiss.
Diane Weiss.
Who's been she was in so many movies back then.
Parenthood and just tons and tons of movies. I think she
like the movie with Whoopi Goldberg where she plays like the male lawyer. She plays her assistant. She's in a lot of stuff.
I'm not sure what movie that is, but what movie is this Dana talking about?
I think Dana picked the one movie.
Dana loves Whoopi.
In the 90s. Not Ghost. So there's a movie where Whoopi Goldberg basically doesn't get enough credit of being like a businesswoman. So instead, she creates this. She creates a character, and the character is basically a old white man to make the character. And she does it with her friend who sees the sexism in it. And she basically is the secretary to Whoopi Goldberg. I will find the name of it. But I can't believe you guys haven't seen this movie.
I think you've dreamt this movie. I believe that this is all your imagination.